everyone. Thank you for joining us. And sorry for the slight delay, just a small technical issue, so we can now begin. So welcome to this product-related talk. We're going to hear a little bit from Ben and Alice here. The topic of this talk is 2 M&As and a JV in less than a year, and we're going to learn about learnings from ramping up product. So let me quickly introduce our speakers. So first of all, we're going to have this Slido for this talk. So Slido is a place where you can post questions, and we will leave some time in the end to answer these questions. So please, I will also post this in the chat. Go to Slido and post your questions there, or feel free also in the chat as well. Now, let me introduce our speakers quickly. So with us today is Ben. So Ben is Director of Product in Sennder. He's an enthusiastic digital builder and also a wine lover. Previously worked at Uber based in Paris, and he is focused in mobility and logistics industry. And together with him, we have Alice. So Alice is a senior product manager here at Project A. She's a product leader. She likes building human-centered, elegant tech solutions. And I know her, she's very passionate about these things. So happy to hear from her. And now let's just hand over the stage. The stage is yours, Alice and Ben.
Cool, thank you very much. And super happy to be here today. So super quickly about sennder. So we're a digital freight forwarder, which means that we connect carriers with shippers pretty much everywhere in Europe. We've known pretty strong growth over the last 5 years. We're now a 500 people organization distributed across 7 countries in Europe. And actually last year was pretty busy because we acquired 2 companies and we also launched a joint venture with Poste Italiane. So maybe Alice, you can cover that in the timeline.
Sure. Good day, everybody. This year has been a staggering year for sennder. Among the top 10 LinkedIn startups in Germany, sennder, let's have a look at sennder 2020 timeline. So in March, sennder launches sennder Italia platform with the office in Milan. In May, sennder joins forces with Everoad, which is number 2 player in the tech logistics European market. And then in July comes the announcement about the joint venture with Poste Italiane with a main focus on 100 million a year long-haul road transportation efficiency. The cherry on top comes, of course, sender's acquisition of Uber Freight Europe. Now sennder safeguards the place as a leader in European digital logistics freight forwarding. And now the aiming of sennder is actually to reach the revenues of 1 billion euro by 2024, which will make the company a unicorn in Europe. Let's have a look at the key learnings that we encountered from launching a joint venture, aka sennder Italia. sennder Italia is a great case to learn from. With just 60 employees, they are covering more than around double of what other offices in sennder Global do regarding the loads altogether. And this is where the scalable infrastructure comes in play. If you double the traffic every 6 months on your platform, the load on the platform increases by an order of magnitude every 18 months. So you have to monitor this in order to make necessary adjustments before everything starts falling apart. You don't want to be standing there 18 months in the process, having successful running business, just to realize that nobody in your company can do their work because the system is too slow. So use your load growth trajectory to predict these spikes and do the necessary improvements on the platform before it's too late. Datadog has been a great tool for our backend team to monitor the latency issues over time. Also, scalable infrastructure enabled us to launch sennder Italia platform as a second tenant on the core platform, a part of their multi-tenant architecture. As we are in the middle of growth, every manual task that is currently looks like a nuisance have a possibility to grow into a major bottleneck in the future. So in order to decide what to automate, ask yourself whether your team will be able to perform the same task, manual task, efficiently if their volume increases by 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, or 100 times. You can also use your growth magnitude in order to identify those potential automation candidates. Last but not least, CRM. CRM is a big effort to implement because it touches all the business processes. So the sooner you do this, the easier it is because the business is just smaller and there is less data to consolidate. Keep in mind that you don't want to introduce business logic inside of the off-the-shelf solution like Salesforce. Keep it inside of your core application, and thus this will enable you to grow your business faster, secure you one less bottleneck in the future, and unlock your scalability. Ben, back to you.
Cool. So we'll now cover the 2 acquisitions that we've made this year. So the first one was Everoad, which was the second European digital player. It might seem a small integration given that we integrated 90 people, but believe me, integrating a 100 people company is still a huge task. And what was interesting with that integration is that we actually integrated 5 core products into sennder product suite. So I'm going to talk to you about how we did that. So a couple of learnings, by all means, these are applicable for other situations, but this is what we've learned from that acquisition. So the first thing might seem trivial, but it's important to invest in documentation and very early on for many reasons. Not only that it will help you operate better as a product team, but also it will help you get more traction in case you're on the other side of the transaction. So whenever someone is considering an M&A opportunity, they'll definitely look into the documentation to see what's hidden and whether it's structured. So believe me, that's super helpful. Now, the second reason why investing in documentation is really helpful is that it allows you to run comprehensive comparison. So the way we've did it between sennder and Everoad is that we literally compared hundreds of features to try to understand whether there were an overlap or whether there were something that could bring value to the other organization. And so based on that, we've actually managed to really understand how we could bring the 2 technologies to form the best product in Europe. The third thing is don't look only at features. Also be transparent about technical debt. And I know that this, again, might seem trivial, but believe me, you might have the best product suite ever. If the underlying infrastructure is not ready for the team to scale, then it might cause problems in the long run. So it's important to be super transparent about technical debt. And then the last thing is outside of the product, you need to accept and explain business logic. So no matter who has the best product, there will always be other considerations such as, the business volume, the risk associated with migrations and so on. So it's okay to make choices that are not necessarily in line with what is the best product, as long as you explain them to team and as long as you're transparent about those. Because the more transparent you can be about decisions that integrate basically an entire product team, the better the decision will be accepted. So that was on the Everoad side. Now moving on to Uber Freight, which is a very different integration. So basically Uber Freight was the number 3 player in Europe, and it was the same size as Everoad basically. But this was more an ops integration rather than a product, given that Uber Freight adopted immediately the sennder OS product suite. So the integration in itself is much different from a product standpoint. That being said, it has huge implications in terms of ramping up our product. So the first one of these implications, if you move to the next slide, Alice, is it's important to confront vision. So the way we've done that is basically running a user research process where we basically went to every team member within Uber Freight and really asked them to compare the product suites to help us understand what they needed and also, what could be valuable from our product. Then the second thing we did is basically a data dump of pretty much everyone in the Uber Freight organization, because they have extensive knowledge, and this is knowledge that you want to capitalize on to make sure that you bring all the insights as possible, and you obviously build on top of these insights. The third thing, which I think, and coming from Uber, I know, which I think is really interesting with that company, is that they have this amazing ability to actually build products outside of the product. And so here, it might seem counterintuitive for a product team to accept that, but it's helpful to actually support other teams building what we call workarounds. Not only will it help your company move faster and deliver more value to your end customers, but it will also open up new doors for your product to evolve. And so here, our objective was to create frameworks and APIs so that teams would be able to operate the way they did it at Uber. And then the last thing is show teams love. Always. I think it's important for any product team to actually show teams love and really be transparent about, what's being built. But it's even more important when you integrate a team. M&A contexts are always difficult. They're always also about egos. And so the more as a product team you can show love, support, and listen, the better. And I really, really insist on this because this is, to me, key to a successful M&A deal. That was it. Thank you so much, and super happy to answer any question you might have.
Okay, so thank you very much for this. So we have time now for questions for Alice and Ben. So feel free to either use the option to grab the mic here on Run the World, and I will just give you the option to speak. If you prefer, you can write your question on Slido, the link that I already posted, and we'll take it from there, or write it directly here on the chat. So any questions currently here? Anyone wants to grab the mic? And if not, we will just go to our Slido. All right, so maybe let's, we'll come to the chat one later. So maybe let's start with this question from Slido, actually. So the question is, tech debt can be tricky to understand and estimate. So how do you keep a good visibility into tech debt as a product team?
It is, and I think it would be very difficult to actually estimate. So the first thing that we want to do is actually sort of index and identify the different infrastructures. This might be trivial, but again, there are many companies that do not start with the basics. So what is the infrastructure? How does it work? What are the different services? What are the different applications running? How do they communicate between each other and so on? And I feel that having this basis is already a start to compare a different infrastructure and start highlighting the different issues that might stem from choosing one option or the other. Now, obviously, I think we can refine that and become much more scientific when it comes to evaluating the impact of refactorings and so on. But this is a partnership to me between product and engineering, and we should always strive to have a unified organization where product, data, design, and engineering are part of one team so that they can really work on projects together.
Yeah, I think everyone that worked in product engineering can relate to the complexity of that.
Exactly. So basically, I can add to that. So tech debt is actually joint responsibility between the product team and engineering team. And on the side of the engineering team, we're also highly relying on the engineering managers to actually track the quality of the code and put measures in place in order to ensure this the code visibility. We introduce the code ownership. So basically, before committing any changes in the existing code base, you'll have to have at least 2 reviewers that own this specific piece of code and basically would prevent you from introducing like quick hacks to place. From the product perspective, it's of course important to allocate and understand the necessity of refactorings. Also, nobody in stakeholders' world likes this word. However, it's just necessity. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's quite interesting. I mean, prevention is probably the best medicine, but it's not always easy to achieve. Okay, so we actually are almost out of time. So what I would suggest, because we will run out of time eventually here, is that there's more questions. Please join us on Wonder. I'm going to post now the link in the chat, and feel free to just ask those questions directly there, because I see there's at least 2 more good questions here. So I'm posting the link right now. Just feel free to go in there. It's a platform where you can just roam around with your little dot and meet us there, and then we will be able to speak. So thank you very much, Ben and Alice, and we will see each other now on Wonder. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.